Hey, it's Melissa. Welcome to my $100,000 stock experiment, year 3, week 25, ending October 2nd, 2020. I'm on a mission to become a great growth stock investor. I'm letting you watch me on my journey. Hopefully, you can learn from my mistakes and celebrate my successes. According to the IBD at investors.com, the market is in a confirmed uptrend. The S&P 500 index started the week out with a bang. It had a gap up and it continued to climb. On Wednesday, the market moved into a confirmed uptrend. It had been in correction. This is a weekly chart for the S&P 500 index. I typically look at a daily chart, but the last 3 weekends I've been attending a one-day, all-day meetup on stock investing, and one of the presenters, Lee Tanner, suggested taking a step back and looking at this weekly instead of daily. So this is showing the 10-week moving average, which is similar to the 50-day, but it's on a weekly basis. So I can see that this index closed just below the 10-week moving average for the week. It was also an up week, but only slightly. I wanted to focus on my buy rules. I think that in April I did not do a very good job buying. So my first rule is to buy when the market is in a confirmed uptrend. My second rule is I want to evaluate my stock against this A90, what I call my tweaked screen. Last weekend at the meetup, Amy Smith showed this A190 screen that someone had put together, and I just tweaked it, and now I look at my stocks against that, and I'll show you what that means. I'm trying to buy at a correct buy point, at the pivot point or an early buy point, pyramid into my positions, and ultimately hold 7 to 10 stocks. So this is a Market Smith screen that I tweaked from this A190 screen that Amy Smith showed. This has proprietary IBD Market Smith ratings on it. The EPS ratings, I want it to be over 75. That's out of a score of 100. Relative strength, I want it to be over 95. The accumulation distribution rating, an A or a B. Composite rating, a 90. And you can read the rest of them. Then each time I look at a stock, on the right-hand side, I can open up this screen and compare it to my A190 tweaked screen. And I'm allowed to have one defect. So this is a sample of Perkinleimer. I don't know how to say it exactly. PKI is the stock symbol. I found this stock on the Breaking Out Today list. It also has a blue dot you can see, and it just has this one defect. The relative strength is only 88. So my goal was to check my stocks that I wanted to buy against this screen and see how they measured up. If you want to give Market Smith a try, last I looked, they had a 4-week trial for $25. Go to the store at investors.com. While I wrote out my buy rules, you'll see that I'm still learning and practicing to follow them. So I made a lot of purchases this week. The first couple of days, I made purchases when the market was not in a confirmed uptrend. It was still in correction, but it was behaving nicely, so I bought a couple stocks, and then when the market went into confirmed uptrend, I bought some more. Every time I buy a stock, I set a stop limit order. Initially, it's at 8% below my purchase price, and I like to try and leave it there for 4 weeks unless the stock makes a double-digit gain or if the market is not in confirmed uptrend anymore. Vive is one of the stocks that I bought on Monday. I've held it for just the 5 days, and it's down 2.3%. I really shouldn't have been buying this because the market was in correction and it missed 2 of that tweaked screen. But the RS line was just 1 point shy at 94, and the accumulation distribution was a C+, which is slightly short of a B. On Tuesday, I bought PKI. This stock was in a pivot in Market Smith. They mark it up for you and show you when it's in pivot. It was on the Breaking Out Today list. It did have nice volume, and it just had one defect with its relative strength at 88 and versus what I like to see at 95. So I've held this 4 days and it's up 1%. The markup on the chart, the green line with the little box and the dot, that's the day I purchased it, and the green line is the price that I purchased it at. and that yellow line is 8% below the purchase price. SailPoint Technology, stock symbol SAIL. This one my girlfriend Franca mentioned, and I went and looked at the chart and I liked it. It had 8 out of 8 on my screen. It didn't have a pattern showing up on MarketSmith, but it was getting to a new high that day, so I bought it. I've held it for 3 days. It gapped up the day after I bought it, and so I have a 9.3% gain in this stock. NVIDIA, I sold this stock on 9.25 and I wanted to get back into it. It had an 8 out of 8 on the A190 screen that I told you about, the tweak screen, and it's down. I've held it 3 days, it's down 3.8%. Datadog, stock symbol DDOG. This one was also in the pivot. It had high volume, 632% of average on MarketSmith. It had the 8 out of 8. I've held it for the 3 days and it's up 2.4%. This is another stock that I've held previously. Shift4 Payments, another stock that I've held before. It is an IPO stock. It IPO'd on 6/5/2020. It's not an IPO base anymore, I don't think, but it's not going to meet those screens because those are for more mature stocks. So it doesn't have the EPS or the relative strength or composite rating. It did have above average volume at 62% above average. So I've held this for 2 days and it's up 2.9%. DH Horton, stock symbol DHI. The average daily volume on the MarketSmith chart is 50 days. So when I talk about what their percentage is or above or below average, it's based on the 50-day. On my chart, it's based on the 15-day period. You can see down at number 1 that's showing you the volume, comma 15. That means 15 periods. This is a daily chart, so it's showing up that way. On the MarketSmith, this one did have below average volume, 2% below average, but it was near the pivot. I wanted to buy a home builder stock. It had 7 out of 8 on my A190 tweak screen. It missed on the relative strength, which was 93. And you can see in my volume section down here, the day I bought it, it did have above average volume based on 15 days. So I've held this 2 days. It's up 2%. DocuSign, another stock I've held before. Volume was 17% above average. This stock had the 7 out of 8 on my tweaked screen. It missed on the accumulation distribution rating. I've held it for 2 days and I'm down just about 2%. Advanced Micro Devices, stock symbol AMD. I have held this stock before and it's on a weekly chart. It's near its 10-week average. So I went ahead and bought this. It's 8 out of 8 on the A190 tweak screen. Not in a proper pivot point, but I just wanted to get this after a bounce off the 10-week line. I've held it for 2 days and I'm down 2.3%. I like to add to stocks as they prove themselves. I did this with Simulations Plus, stock symbol SLP, and that did not work out for me. I held it for just the 3 days and it was down 8%. This is a stock that I bought on Monday. I held it 5 days. It's down almost 6% and it is near my floor, so I would not expect me to be holding this next week. I think it's going to fail. I got this out of the Breaking Out Today list. It had nice volume on MarketSmith of 61% above the average. It was on their blue dot list in a pivot. It might be too thin. It's doesn't have as much volume as some stocks, but it did meet my criteria and had 8 out of 8 on that A190 tweak screen. Here's a summary of what I sold. I lost just about $500 in that B2 of SLP. So after 2 years and 25 weeks, my $100,000 has grown to $156,216 versus the S&P 500 for the same time frame has grown to $126,057. On the left-hand side are the numbers for the S&P. The one with the blue dot is the weekly change. So the S&P 500 went up 1.5% this week versus over on the right-hand side, the Melissa method went down 0.2%. And the experiment year, S&P 500, my experiment year started mid-April. The S&P 500 is up 20% since that time frame versus my experiment up 8%. So it is kicking my butt right now. The industry breakdown shows I have 56,000 in cash. I have 50,000 in software stocks across 5 positions. I have about 20,000 in chip stocks across 2 positions, and the other 3 are divided between finance, medical, and a building stock.
Thanks for watching. Keep an eye out for my next episode, or better yet, subscribe to my channel, The Melissa Method.